Hi, my name is Jason. I'm one of the techs here at PourMyBeer, and we are going to be going over all of the different settings on the PourMyBeer server. So let's get started. The first section is going to be current cards. It is exactly as it says. It is a list of current active cards that you have, as well as any cards that have been paired to a ticket through the point of sale. And you can search for names, for the type of card it is. There's a lot of ways to filter out this data because it can get pretty busy if you have a very busy location. There's also ways to filter out blocked cards, expired cards. You can also view blocked cards in their own section up here at the top. We only have one blocked card here, and it's a staff card. You can also look at your staff and system cards, your staff cards, your admin cards, your cleaning cards. Those are all listed in the staff and system cards section. Likewise, you can block them. Let's say Johnny got a new opportunity and he left your bar, but he forgot to turn in his staff card. You can go ahead and just block that and make sure no one can do anything with it. Next, we're going to talk about the keg management section. This section is more of an information dump from the data from your screens. There isn't a lot to change or manipulate here other than how the gauges look, what order they're listed as. We can change it from a gauge to a keg, sort the tap numbers from ascending or descending or by fill level. So kegs that are the most empty can be at the top, so you have a good idea of what kegs you need to replace coming up. Like I said, again, there isn't a lot of data manipulation here. It's more of a view of what you have based on your screens at the wall. We're going to talk about the reporting section. This is your volume pours, how each product is doing by volume or money, how many cards you have active, what you have sold versus dispensed. It is by default listed by day, week, and month. You can change those parameters a little bit. So in the sold versus dispensed section, you can see what you have dispensed versus what you have sold. And a lot of times this will be off slightly due to scavenging or if a cleaning report comes through, but it can give you a really good idea of how much you're dispensing versus how much you're selling. And if that number is way off, you can do some investigating. Next up is a lot of information on how to look at how your different products are doing. You can do a total pours by brand by money, which will display all of the products that you have poured and how much they have poured on a day, week, and monthly basis. So you can see how much or how well each product has performed from a dollar standpoint. Next up is by servings, which is exactly as money. However, it's how many servings of this product are being poured. So the product that makes the most money might not necessarily be the most popular product. And it can give you insights on what products to reorder or to continue or to sale. And then volume is very similar, but instead of a servings count is a pure ounce count. Just a total of how many ounces of this product has been poured on a day, week, or month basis. Cleaning reports are next. This is pretty self-explanatory. These reports are gathered when a cleaning card is used on a product. Obviously, this should be in line with your cleaning schedule, your line cleaning schedule, and if things are off base, you can do some investigating. Staff reports report how the staff are using their cards to pour products. We have a setting in the server that allows staff cards to do a fill up in case a customer pours their product wrong and it's a glass of foam. A staff member can come up and educate that customer how to pour their product and then pour them a nice well poured glass of beer. Permanent login reports are a setting that isn't really used for this current form of the system, so I'm going to skip that. And open pour is exactly what it says. We do have an open pour option where if you want to have your system be pouring for free because someone prepaid for a party or something to that effect, you can just have the system pour in free pour mode. and that will be dumped into this separate report to account for all of that information. We're going to talk about staff reporting. Staff reporting is a little different than the regular reporting section. It's more focused on how the staff and administrator cards are being used. It has very detailed information about when a staff card is used to create a tab or to reactivate a tab. This customer doesn't have much in terms of their card creation. Whenever a card is created, a staff or admin card, it is going to be listed in this list. We're going to scroll down a bit to the fill-up report. So as I mentioned before with the staff fill-up, these are which staff cards are being used to fill up products and how much they're being used for that. So this way you can take a look and say, hey, you know, what's going on here, and look for any discrepancies that way. System card history is what I mentioned before. It is, you know, this card is created by this person at this time. Staff cards, cleaning cards, manager cards, they're all listed here as to when they were created, by whom, and if they were deleted and who they were deleted by. So if cards are unaccounted for, you can take a look and see what happened. Staff actions with customer cards. These are for resetting customer cards, reactivating customer cards. Locations that have integrations might not see a lot of information on here, since a lot of that is handled in a different section of the software. So locations that have prepaid and bill paid cards are going to see a lot of data in here with cards getting created, reactivated, closed, all that stuff. Fill-up reports and cleaning reports. As I mentioned before, a lot of data on the fill-up and cleaning card usage. Here's a fill-up report specifically. Some of this data is in two different sections. But you can see, like, Sam poured some fill-up cards in early April, and you can just have a good, clear picture on which staff members are using their fill-up functions on their staff cards and how they're using them. And your weekly cleaning report, again, this should line up with your draft cleaner schedule, and should stay pretty consistent. If there's any wild discrepancies, you can look into that as to why this cleaning session took 400 ounces versus this other cleaning session took 200 ounces. We're going to discuss the product database. This is where all of the products that are displayed on your beer wall are going to live. Their data, their images, how much they cost, their descriptions, their ABVs, their happy hour prices, all of that is going to live in this section. Right here we have a Cabernet. Currently it's deactivated. This gray background means that the product is deactivated, which means it still lives in your database but is not available for selection out at the screens. It helps keep the export of data clean and fast. If you have 40 taps and you might have 1,000 products in your database, you'd really only want like 40 to 60 products active as opposed to the full 1,000, because updates will take longer and longer as your product database gets bigger and bigger. So by deactivating a product, it keeps it in the database, but it doesn't send it out on a configuration update. It's just good housekeeping. We're gonna bop into this product. This is a Cabernet. We got our PLU number. Each PLU number has to be unique. You cannot make a product with a PLU number that another product already has. They have to be unique, and it will error out and it won't work. We have to give it a name. We recommend a good naming scheme to help keep your database organized on your screens. Is it brewery name, then product? Is it product name, then brewery? Is it type and then name? There's a lot of different ways. Most locations, brewery and name, keeps everything nice and clean. The next section is your brewery. The next section is style. These are optional. You don't need to enter data there, but it's just good to have. Your tasting notes are what the customer sees if they press the product logo on the screen. This is the more detailed, what flavor or what variety of hops are they using, where were the hops grown, maybe a little history about the brewery, any kind of additional information you want on that product. Volume unit, in North America we use ounces. We can use milliliters. We have European locations that use milliliters, but we are going to use ounces. Volume unit decimal place is how many points are after the decimal place when it comes to your ounce count. So if you pour 10 ounces, did you pour 10.1 ounces or 10.15 ounces? How granular you want to get on that system is determined by your decimal places. Base unit divider is always going to be 1. We're never going to change that. Anytime you do, it's a problem. Just trust me. Just don't ever change it. Your volume price per volume unit, again, is due to the fact that we have milliliters and ounces. We use volume unit as opposed to ounce, but since we are set to ounces, we have $1.59 per ounce here with a tax rate. And then the happy hour prices, they don't have any happy hour prices for this, so that's going to fill in with the same price because I haven't changed it. Any happy hour changes that you make will change this price. You can choose the units per serving. That determines how many ounces are in a serving. In this case, it's 9, so it's 9 ounces per serving. And by default, our cards do 2 servings per patron, so they could pour 18 ounces of wine before a staff member will have to reactivate their card. We can set the product type to wine. You got a bunch of different options here: cocktails, non-alcoholic food, games. We're going to leave it as wine. ABV. You can choose to display your ABV or not. Same with IBUs. Some people are pretty intense on their IBU truths. Then next up is the image that is going to be displayed on the screen for the customer to see when they are deciding what product to pour. You can choose to have no image. If you want to upload a different image, you can select this box here and upload a different image. Is active and is advertising. We notice is active is unchecked. Like I described earlier, it is deactivated. So it is living in our database, but it is not being sent out to the screens for selection in this case. By checking this box and sending a configuration update, this product would then be available to select out at the screens. We're going to leave that unchecked. Portions modes, these are set up in another section, but if you make many different types of portions, you can select which ones you want active on a per product basis or on a global basis. We're going to discuss the happy hour section. This was a very long requested feature. We have a few different ways to manage your happy hour. We're going to start at the top here. You have to give it a name. We're going to name it test. And you can determine if the happy hour trigger is based on a date or time, or if it is based on an event. By date or time, obviously, do you want it daily? Do you want it on the weekends? Do you only want it on a certain day? And from there, you can drill down into, I want it on Thursdays and Fridays from 4 to 7 or whatever. A event-based happy hour is based on keg level or keg age. Let's say when a keg gets half full, you can kick on a happy hour with a sale and try to get that, or 25%, you can get that keg emptied. And then keg age is exactly that. When a new keg is put on, it tracks the date, and if say 2 weeks goes by and that keg hasn't emptied yet, you can set up a happy hour so that when a keg is 2 weeks old, there's a specific sale on it to empty that keg out and get it moving. There are a couple of other settings in here. So we have our date and time, our keg threshold, our price point. We have 2 different types of happy hour pricing. One is an absolute and one is a percent. And what that means is if a product is 40 cents and you give it an absolute value, happy hour value of 20 cents, it doesn't matter what you set it as. You could then change that price to be $1 per ounce, but the absolute happy hour price will always bring it down to 20 cents or whatever you set it to. For a percentage, it's exactly that. If it's $1 and you set it at a 50%, it's going to bring it down to 50 cents. You know, if it's $1.50 and you set it to 50%, it'll be 75 cents. So it'll do that math, and you can have up to 4 different forms of that pricing. You can also decide which products to have on happy hour and which ones to not. They can be done a couple different ways. You can use specific products based on their category. If you have all of your products in your database managed properly, say by beer, wine, all that stuff, you can say, hey, I want all wines to be on happy hour at this time, or I want specific PLUs to be on happy hour. If you know a really popular brand or a not so popular brand that you want on every week. And no filter just means it's going to happen to everything. All of the products in the database are going to take their happy hour pricing. We have some pre-built happy hours here. So we got Monday through Friday, has a name. So Monday through Friday, every day, it starts at 3, ends at 6. It has a happy hour price percentage, and it has a list of all these different products that are added to the happy hour. And then we can see here is another one. There's beer of the week, which same deal. It's just every day it's all day because it's beer of the week with a price percentage and which products are being selected. The next section is going to be our information section. This is a pretty quick, this letter I tile is just telling you what server version you're using, what configuration version you're using. It's very useful for P&B techs with helping diagnose problems or performing upgrades. Next up is the background images section. It's exactly as it describes. These are all of the different backgrounds that you can have on your screens at the wall. You can upload your own, you can set new ones to default, you can reset all clients to default if you changed a specific client's background to maybe represent a specific brewery for a tap takeover or something like that. And you can also remove your backgrounds that you don't want anymore. Next up is the server configuration setting section. This is very big. There's a lot to go over. I'm going to go over some of the more important features. Okay, the first section we're going to talk about is domain. The domain setting is your entire system, how the screens and server are linked together via the network. You can also change your domain and local credentials for logins. Also the device language. I don't think we need to change a lot of that here though. Date and format display will change what your prefix for your currency is. Obviously, North America use the $, period. And there's a lot of aesthetic settings here. For instance, when a customer takes their card off, it will show how much they poured and what the amount is, what the volume is, like how much they poured and how much it cost. You can turn these on and off. Showing unit price will display the price per ounce when a customer places their card on the reader. Again, you can turn it on or off. You can show a price tag, which has a little image in the corner of the screen that displays the cost per ounce at all times instead of just when a customer places the card on. You can change the appearance of that a little bit. We got it set to white. You can change it to yellow. You can change your fill-up amounts, how you want your portions modes to be displayed, and the rest of these are kind of for record keeping. When does your weekly sale end? So for us, it starts on Sunday. That is the start of a new week. For day start offset hours, that essentially says what hour makes a new day. Obviously for a bar that's open till 1 or 2, we bump that up to about 5. That's usually a good divider for starting a new day for record keeping. You can also change your background image from here. You can also do a system-wide change of what your system fill-up bar looks like. Normally it's just a yellow beer. However, you can change that setting locally on a per-screen basis, or you can change it here system-wide to have them all change to be the same thing. When you're confirming your selections in portions mode, you can have it be a check mark or a shopping cart or kind of some aesthetic stuff. Then we're going to move over to a card prompt. This is for locations that have like a tap to pour situation where you're not placing your card on the screen, but you're tapping a wristband or a card, and then it will stay there. So you don't have to hold the card up to the machine. Portions mode confirmation. We don't have a lot of locations that use portions mode, but when they do, you would select the portions mode and then confirm that portions mode before you were able to pour. Again, not widely used. Beverage settings is, exactly, are we going to use ounces or milliliters? How many decimal points are we going to have? How many servings per patron are we going to have? What's the legal drinking age? You can also change a responsibility limit message. So when a customer pours through their 2 servings, you can have a message display as you see fit to asking them to, hey, a staff member needs to reactivate your card here. And we also have a setting that if a product has not been poured in 60 days, it will be set to inactive, which helps keep the database a little cleaner, and that makes it so it's not sent out with every configuration update to increase that time. Keeps the config update times low and keeps your database cleaner. Tap time limitations. This is a setting that you determine what hours your tap wall is available for use, and anytime outside of that range, there will be a message on the screens that say, hours of operations have passed, or whatever you want to customize it to here. So no one can use the wall whether they have a card or not if it is outside the hours of operation. Keep in mind this is a system-wide setting. At this time, there is no way to set individual screens to have a tap time limitation. So if you had soda taps for kids, or it's just a system-wide setting. Keg level settings. These are to help with managing the levels of kegs and kind of manage your vision of it from the keg level section. And when a keg is emptied, you can display a specific message. You can also hide the fill volume bar on the side of the client. Normally there's a green bar that changes to yellow and red as the keg empties. If you want that to be hidden, because some customers won't pour from a keg that's nearly empty, you can go ahead and hide that here. So for cleaning settings, again, pretty self-explanatory. There's even some information, some mouse over information to help you manage your cleaning sections. Driver's license scanning is for data gathering. Our charger pieces of hardware have driver's license ID scanners where you can gather demographic data about who's coming to the bar and what they're pouring and stuff to that. You can turn this on or off from this section. Backup settings, we usually leave these at default. It is being saved to a directory called backups. It is keeping 100 backups, and it backs up every 240 minutes, so for 4 hours. Again, this can be changed, where you're saving it, how often you're saving it, how many backups you're going to have. We usually leave these at default. It leaves us a lot of room for fixing any issues that come up. Hotel interface is how you determine what mode the system is going to run in. With this client, they're running our integration version 2, which connects to Toast and Clover and My Access Point, a couple others. With no integration, it would be standard mode, which is how the majority of our customers operate. I'm going to change this back to Manage 2. Here you determine where your hotel server. That's our server. The hotel server is the PourMyBeer server. And various features that can be enabled or disabled to change how that operates. For the cards section, this determines how the screen is going to read cards. By default, it's going to be an RFID card reader. We do have a couple other ways for vending and various other modes, but 99% of the time it's going to be an RFID card reader. So the RFID reader type is how the cards interact with the screen. By default, 99% of the time it's going to be RFID card reader. We do have some other options for vending and some other things. Allow customer cards allows for cards to be created without an expiration time. Instead of like a 12-hour or 24-hour expiration time, it can be never. Auto logout from screens is a setting where if you place an admin card or a Pour card on the screen and you do your business and you leave, there will be a slight delay before the screen goes back to being its default state. Card encryption passphrase is just what your card password is for your cards. Some of the other settings here are disabling the logout button. There is a way to bypass that timeout quickly by pressing a button to end the timeout timer, so you log out immediately. Enable fill-up feature for staff cards is significant as it allows staff cards to pour product for customers. Let's say a customer makes a really bad pour and it's a very foamy drink. A staff member can come up and pour them a new drink. Also, that can be set for manager cards here. Allow online pre- and bill pay cards allows for a cheaper version of RFID card called a 1K card to be used on our system. 1K cards are not as complex as our 2K cards, but they are cheaper, but they require a constant connection back to the server to be used, whereas our 2K do not. This is also important for integration customers. This pretty much has to be checked given how that whole system works. Disable logout timer for system cards acts exactly as the auto logout for dispense, but it's just for system cards. So if you take your admin card off, it'll be a 5-second delay before the system menu goes away. Allow batch balancing for customer cards. This is exactly as it describes. You can batch balance all of your customer cards just one after the other instead of doing them one at a time. And allow pouring without customer cards attached is for portions mode, and there is no responsibility limit. Not a feature that's going to be used very often. Payment system settings, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on. These are for vending machines, which almost none of our customers have. My colleague Carl will probably go into a little bit more about that. Open pour is exactly that. If this is on, the system can be poured for free. No one's going to be charged anything. There's a big red warning here. Again, this is good for in cases when someone prepays for a big party and you want everyone to just pour for free. Bar network. This is more for vending, the vending side of things. My colleague Carl will go into a little bit more about that. Time settings, this is how the server machine gets its time stamps for logging information and stuff. We're in Central Time, so that's where it's at. Client logging, this setting is for us techs. This isn't something the client or operator is ever going to have to deal with. The external link is basically a free space tile on our main menu here. Right here, this is your external link, which you can make some changes to what you want that to be displayed as. Currently, it is set up for the BEERBOARD gateway and where it links to. So if you want to link to, your Grubhub page or whatever, you kind of set this up to be however you want. Email settings, unfortunately, due to the way email clients are going, this feature will be deprecated in not too long. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Charger setting, enable client charger switch is significant as it allows one of the X9 screens at the wall to become a charger in case something happens with your charger check-in station behind the bar and you're dead in the water. You can change one of the screens to be a charger, so you will lose a screen and some taps, but you will be able to create cards, balance cards. You'll be able to do all that by switching the mode of that screen to be a charger. Client control API, again, this is more of a tech support thing that operators aren't really going to have to deal with. Same with control API and certification. The support text is something that we as tech support or you guys can change. It is what is displayed on the bottom of your charger device behind the bar with our support line information, how to order new cards, where to find training videos, that type of information. Again, and you can change this as you see fit. There is one more section I want to talk about, which is maintenance operations. This is again more for the tech support side of things. You can send manual updates to the server, check file software versions, check your tap number notifications to make sure everything lines up properly. You can restart the devices. There's a lot of good testing features in here that if you're working with a P&B tech, they might have you do. Okay, we're going to talk about the client settings section. This is just information about all of the various screens that you have in the location. They are called clients. They have some information that's very useful, especially for the tech support team. If you call with questions, we have hardware versions, file versions, last seen by the server. Again, this is more information for us, but if the last seen timestamp is days ago, that means that this screen has not communicated with the server in that amount of time, so we can start diagnosing why that's happening. Also, what products are assigned to each line, line 1 and line 2, what the keg levels are at, price level. This little flame icon is actually for happy hour, so that is telling you that this line and product are in a happy hour price range. Obviously this one is not. So with the tap numbers, that is a visual representation for us to see, okay, this is tap 9, so when we're doing troubleshooting, we can say, hey, please go to tap number 9 and let's take a look. Keg alerts, these are for smart fobs and various other functions to essentially, we don't really do smart fobs much anymore, but if a keg kicked and the fob dropped, there would be a message that said that the keg was empty and you needed to talk to a staff member and maybe get it replaced. Tap mode, this is almost always going to be standard or portion. Portions mode is for a lot of our California locations due to regulations there. Almost all of our locations are in standard mode. And here you can delete the configuration, which you will have to set it up again, or you can delete the device or the configuration and forget the device, where you would have to reconnect the device to the server and it would re-pull in all this information. You can filter out a lot of options. You can search by IP address, by product. Sending your tap number notification will display the tap numbers on the screen, so we make sure that's all on point. A known unconfigured device, you can see we have a couple here, that just means that their tap numbers are not assigned. Once a tap number is assigned, it gets moved over into configured devices. And it's in this nice long list where products are assigned, your keg levels are set, your happy hour's good, your tap numbers are assigned, and like everything's ready to go. Here again, this is more on the tech side of things. We have a nice short list of all of the different pieces of hardware connected to the system, their IP addresses, what firmware version they have. This is more for us, but there is some meaningful information here as well.